Bitcoin's outperformed everything. Gold hasn't.
Yes,
So
I agree. I grant you that.
So, okay.
There's nothing that Bitcoin hasn't outperformed. And that will be true. By the way, if next year Bitcoin is down at 10,000, that will still be true. Bitcoin would have still outperformed everything, but most people who own it will have lost almost all their money. So, what good is that going to be?
Okay, so the point of that is just to show that I'm not handpicking data. All data that you want to pick for gold does not act in gold's favor. It does not promote the ideas that Peter embodies.
Gold's not an investment.
Data's bad for gold.
So gold's not an investment.
Hold on, Peter, I'll let you finish. This is embarrassing for both of us if we're shouting over each other. So, David, the real problem with gold is that, unfortunately, it has to centralize. The problem is that gold can't achieve transaction finality without the help of a government or a central party, meaning that when gold was operating in a local economy and you can exchange the physical coins with your direct counterpart for your butcher, your local tailor, your grocer, whoever you were exchanging with, gold was great. When the world needed to scale an economy and the velocity of money larger than your local economy, gold failed us. Gold failed us because gold is just a bare physical metal. It does not carry a monetary network. What's the gold network? The gold network are human beings. And when you're trying to transact in an economy of billions of people globally, you are reliant on central parties, banks, governments. And it was for that reason that gold failed. And it failed in a way that you can't operate a truly free market when the concentrated supply is with those that you have to trust. And so that's fundamentally what Bitcoin solved, is that you are able to create a scarce bearer instrument and a network that can achieve finality in transactional settlement without the reliance on any government or central party. So that, I think, is extremely, that's really the core issue of why gold's been demonetized since. I think on the points of Bitcoin like needing more history and it's young, I mean, I think that sounds like a personal problem for you, Peter. Like that, I think you need more evidence. And that's you being slow to recognize reality, right? Like if you were to need the internet to prove that email is better than traditional mail, you would just be late to adopting better technology. That doesn't sound like, that's not a point or a criticism against the properties that Bitcoin has. That's your own personal bias of how much proof that you need to adopt something that might be superior. So that's on you. And the last thing I will say on Bitcoin's volatility, for the listeners, I really think it's an important fundamental point. Risk is not the same thing as volatility. Risk refers to the probability of a permanent loss of capital. Risk would be that the Bitcoin code or the Bitcoin network outright fails. You can make an argument that Bitcoin's actually the least risky asset ever because it's the only asset you can store in your head. Bitcoin is, however, extremely volatile. And I will admit that, but that's a pro. Volatility is the frequency or like the magnitude of which the price fluctuates. And so Bitcoin, hold on. I'm almost done. I promise, 30 seconds. The point here, David, is that Bitcoin has to be volatile because the asset is inelastic. Because the asset cannot, with more demand in Bitcoin, you cannot make more supply. More demand has to fundamentally be a higher price. Whereas for all other commodities and all other assets with more supply, you can make more demand, which makes them less volatile, but also makes them, I just went over the returns in the data, which also makes the returns not nearly what we're seeing in Bitcoin. So Bitcoin volatility is baked into the system because it's a fixed asset. So as it becomes adopted as a money globally, volatility is implied, but volatility is also the only reason that Bitcoin's averaging 100% year over year growth over the last decade, and gold's at 2%. So, and volatility is not risk. Because Bitcoin's volatile, it doesn't make it risky. It makes it an opportunity.
Yeah.